you can just create a psychological state. And that psychological state has to produce a physical reality, a new physical reality for you. It has to. The law of reversibility, inverse transformation. So, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be covering the law of reversibility. And the reason why I want to cover this is because it cannot be argued. After you understand the law of reversibility, that everything is, every thought, every feeling, every creation is reversible in some degree, you cannot argue the law of assumption. And if you understand this, it's going to help you apply the law of assumption and give you and help you with practical applications. That way you actually do it, because you cannot argue. After this video, after you watch this video today, I'm going to break this down so well that you're not going to have any doubt whatsoever that it works. And if you apply it, if you do it, if you actually do it, you can create anything you want to come into your life. But before we get into the video, I wanted to mention that I just launched Neville's VIP course, the one that Neville Goddard taught to my grandfather personally in the back of the Wilshire Ebell Theater. I just created a PDF workbook where you can actually print that out and actually have that workbook with you to hold you accountable, and have it where you can keep it next to your bed, where you can keep it in places. It's going to remind you to do the lessons. That way you can actually start applying this and not forget. So you can have an actual tangible workbook with you. I also launched the 30-day affirmation workshop challenge in PDF form, where you can actually print that out and keep that with you and do the daily exercises to create specific affirmations for whatever you're trying to create. So I'm going to put that link in the description. It's going to be the very first link in the description below. I'm also going to pin that to the comments. And I know I was getting a lot of comments about this, about scammers that are impersonating me also in the comments. I do not use Telegram. I do not use WhatsApp. And yes, these are my courses and this is my website. So this is not an impersonation. This is actually me. And that's going to be the very first link in the description below. I'm going to pin that in the comments as well. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into the law of reversibility. I'm going to break this down so well today that it cannot be argued. Okay, so I'm going to start off with this, and then I'm going to explain this. I'm going to break this down to where it's undeniable. Okay, undeniable. And if you understand this, then there's nothing that can hold you back from your manifestations and whatever you're trying to create. Okay, so if a physical fact can produce a psychological state can produce a physical fact. If the effect A can be produced by the cause B, then inversely, the effect B can be produced by the cause A. Therefore, I say unto you, whatever things you desire, when you pray, believe that you have already received them, and you shall have them. Mark 11:24 was screaming the law of reversibility right here. If a physical fact can produce a psychological state, then that psychological state can produce a physical fact. So if you can create that feeling state, if you can create a feeling of already having something and sustain that feeling state, then that psychological state has to produce the physical fact of that psychological state. So I'm going to get deeper into this right now. And here it is, and no one said it better than Neville Goddard himself. Mechanical motion caused by speech was known for a long time before anyone dreamed of the possibility of an inverse transformation, that is, the reproduction of speech by mechanical motion, which was the phonograph. Okay, so for a long time, electricity was produced by friction without ever a thought that friction in turn could be produced by electricity. This is inverse transformation, the law of reversibility. If electricity can produce friction, then friction can produce electricity. So a feeling, if a physical fact in your three-dimensional world, a material object, whatever that may be, whether that's a new house, a relationship, a new car, or a boatload of money, if that physical fact in your three-dimensional world can create or make you happy, can create a feeling state, a psychological state within you, then it has to be reversible. Then if you can create that psychological state without that appearance of those material objects in your 3D world, then that psychological state, if you can persist in that, has to reproduce those material objects in your three-dimensional world, just like this. If electricity can produce friction, then friction can produce electricity. And it's a fact. The law of reversibility, inverse transformation. if you want a sports car, or if you have a sports, you just got a sports car, your favorite sports car, your dream car, you just got it, that's going to create a psychological state within you, a feeling state. You're going to feel great. You're going to be driving it. You're feeling, the windows are down. You can hear the engine, whatever excites you. That physical object is now creating a psychological state within you. And what this is saying right here, inverse transformation, the law of reversibility, is even if you don't have the car, you don't need the car. You can create that feeling state, that psychological state within you, and that psychological state has to reproduce that car. If you can create that feeling state and persist in that feeling state and impress the subconscious mind that you already have it, you're tricking it. The inverse transformation, the law of reversibility, is very simple and it's undeniable, and you can't argue it. You cannot argue this. If you can create the psychological state of having everything that you want in your life right now, you can create that feeling state right now, a psychological state, then it has to reproduce that in your three-dimensional holographic world. That material object has to be created just as surely as electricity can produce friction and friction can produce electricity. Either one can produce the other. The law of reversibility is real. All right, so let's go a little bit further into this, okay? So whether or not a man or a person or a woman succeeds in reversing the transformation of a force, he or she knows nevertheless that all transformations of force are reversible. If heat can produce mechanical motion, so can mechanical motion produce heat. If electricity produces magnetism, then magnetism too can develop electric currents. If the voice can cause undulatory currents, so can the currents reproduce the voice, and so on. Cause and effect, energy and matter, action and reaction are the same and interconvertible. We're living in a non-dualistic reality, okay? So if you can create So right now, you just need to figure out exactly what you want. Just for a moment with me while you're watching this video. Just think of it. What is something that you want in your life? Maybe that's a relationship that you want back. Or maybe that's a certain job that you want, or a certain income that you want, or a certain car, a certain house. You want to live at a certain location. Imagine what that feeling would, if it was actually happening to you right now. Don't even get away from visualize. I know visualizing can be difficult for some people, or even affirmations. Just imagine it, just the possibility of it, and think, how would I feel if I had that right now? Whatever that may be in your life that you're missing. And that feeling of it being missing right now is actually keeping it from you. So if you can just imagine, okay, so that's not really happening in my world. I'm not really missing this. That's not really empty in my world. I'm going to discover what that thing is right now, whether that's the relationship or the car, the amount of money, the new career, or living in a different place, whatever that is. I'm going to imagine that right now, and I already have that. Okay, so I'm thinking, what would I feel if I already had that? Then that feeling it's going to come to you. You're going to feel that, and then just download that feeling of it already being done. You already have it, whatever that is. You already have that right now. Now, what is that feeling? Now, hold on to that feeling. Now you felt it. Now you can come back to that. Now you can come back to that anytime you want. Your mind's automatically going to picture something, without you having to do anything. So you're not going to have to visualize anything. But once you discover what that feeling is, through the law of reversibility, inverse transformation, that feeling state you just found when you pictured it already being done, that feeling state now, if you can hold on to that feeling that it's already done, no matter what's going on in your three-dimensional world, and you can persist in that and not feel like it's missing in your world and let go, then it has to be reproduced in your three-dimensional holographic world. This simulation, it has to be recreated just as surely as electricity can produce friction and friction can produce electricity. The same. You cannot change it. You cannot change it. This is a law, just like gravity, okay? The law of electricity. This is the same. This is the law of reversibility and an inverse transformation. So if you can find that feeling state, and persist in that, that's already done. That's already happened. Then that psychological state has to reproduce that physical fact in your three-dimensional world. It has to produce that physical fact, that material object in your world, or that person, or whatever it is has to be created in your three. It has to come to you. You will get it. It will come to you, or you will go after it. One or the other, it's going to happen. All right. So this law is of the highest importance because it enables you to foresee the inverse transformation once the direct transformation is verified. Okay. This is so important because if you knew how you would feel, were you to realize your objective, then inversely, you would know what state you could realize were you to awaken in yourself such a feeling, and then it has to be reproduced as an objective reality. So then that's super cool because you can just create a psychological state, and that psychological state has to produce a physical reality, a new physical reality for you. It has to. The law of reversibility, inverse transformation. So the injunction to pray, believing that you already possess what you pray for, is based upon a knowledge of the law of inverse transformation, like it was stated in Mark. Okay? In the Bible, it's written all over. The injunction to pray, believing you already possess something, what you pray for, is based upon a knowledge of the law of inverse transformation, the law of reversibility. It's been stated to us just symbolically. Okay? So if you realize your prayer produces in you a definite feeling or state of consciousness, then inversely, that particular feeling or state of consciousness must, not should, not maybe, must produce your realized prayer, because all transformations of force are reversible. All transformations of force, so you should always assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and persist in that. Find that feeling, persist in it, because that psychological state has to reproduce the objective material that psychological state is connected, the equivalent to that. Whatever that feeling state is, and you're feeling, like if it's a relationship or it's a certain amount of money, that feeling state that's no longer missing. That's no longer missing in your life now. You now have that relationship. You now have that money. You now have this. You now have that. You now have everything that you ever wanted. Nothing is missing in your life. Sustain that feeling state that nothing is missing. How would I feel right now if I had everything that I wanted and I was at peace? I'm happy. I'm fulfilled. I'm at peace, happy, and I'm fulfilled. What's that feeling state? Can you persist in that? And then your outside world will reflect that change. From inverse transformation, the law of reversibility. You should awaken within you the feeling that you are and have that which heretofore you desired to be and possess. This is easily done by imagining the joy that would be yours were your objective an accomplished fact, so that you live and move and have your being in the feeling that your wish is already realized, and it will be. It has to. It has no choice. It's not, you can't say that it doesn't work. You can't say that electricity can't produce friction and friction can't produce electricity. Either one. All right, so I'm going to cover this one last part, then we're going to end this video. I think that this is pretty clear now. This is abundantly clear to everyone watching this video. Okay, so if a physical fact can produce a psychological state can produce a physical fact. If the effect A can be produced by cause B, then cause B can be produced by cause A. Therefore, I say unto you, whatsoever things you desire, whatever things you pray for, believe that you have already received them, and you shall have them. Mark 11:24. All right, guys, I love you guys very much, and this is Prayer, the Art of Believing by Neville Goddard. Prayer, the Art of Believing by Neville Goddard, the Law of Reversibility. And don't forget to check out those workbooks, the PDF workbooks. That's the very first link in the description below. I have those 8 other courses that I'm creating in PDF form. That way they're tangible copies, physical copies that you can print out and actually keep them with you, so you can put them by your bed and make sure that you're actually applying these things and getting that awareness to be able to persist in your imagination, to be able to hold that feeling state. Because as we just went over, if you can hold the feeling state, a psychological state, then that psychological state has to be reproduced in your physical world as a material object. So these are big courses, and to hold yourself accountable and have those in front of you, the tangible copies, is really going to be helpful to get you to that next level, to create whatever you want in your life. Happy, peaceful, fulfilled. Happy, peaceful, fulfilled. I love those affirmations. All right, guys, I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video.